everyone, Griff Hamlin here. Welcome, thanks for joining me today. In this video, we are going to talk about how to migrate or how to move between the minor and the major blues sound or blues scale, and really what that means and what's involved, and in particular, why I really don't like one of the more common tricks, which is the move down 3 frets trick. So I'm going to show you what that trick is, and I'm going to show you why I don't like it, and I'm going to show you an alternative to it, okay, that I think works a lot better. So what we're going to be talking about primarily are what are commonly called the blues boxes or the pentatonic boxes. Okay, now for, I'll say box 1, I'm going to be in the key of A minor for my demonstration here. So I'm starting, box 1 there at the A on the 5th fret. There's the blues version or the pentatonic version. They are effectively the same. They are used effectively the same. So we don't really have to differentiate between the two. I also tend to interchangeably use the word scale and sound. You'll hear me call it the blues sound or the blues scale. The reason that I call it the blues sound or the pentatonic sound really has more to do with the fact that we can use it in a variety of ways. And it's not, because it's not a diatonic scale, I sort of tend to think of it more as a color, as a flavor. And that's just kind of a detail there. It's a subtlety, and it's really not important. I just want to let you know that you'll hear me sometimes say the blues sound, and you'll sometimes hear me say the blues scale. Okay? Now, we're also going to be looking at box 2, which attaches. So there's box 1 again. That note right there where my pinky falls or the pentatonic version, that's box 2. Now, of course, there are 3, sorry, I played that wrong, 4 and 5. Right, we can get into all of that. You don't have to know those for the rest of this video. You just have to know that they exist, that they connect, and that they all fit together. They're also all the same 5 notes. That is really, really critical. The A minor pentatonic scale, no matter which box you play, is going to be A, C, D, E, and G. That's it. If you add the blue note, it's D sharp or E flat, however you want to call it. It's the same note. That's never going to change. So whether I play the A minor scale, the A minor pentatonic scale here, or here, or here, or here, or here, that box 4 pattern doesn't have any different notes than a box 1 or a box 2 pattern. Okay, the only reason we have boxes and patterns and whatever you want to call them is because a guitar is two-dimensional. It's up and down and left and right, unlike, say, a piano, which is just left and right. Okay, there's only one way to play a middle C on a piano. We have, maybe 3 or 4 of them. So that's what creates this situation where we have multiple ways to play the same thing. Okay, now, as it turns out, there's a minor blues sound or a minor pentatonic sound, and then there's a major blues or a major pentatonic sound. Okay, now the minor blues scale or the minor pentatonic scale in relation to an A major scale, a diatonic A major, is a root, a flatted third, a fourth, the blue note is the flatted fifth, the fifth, and the flatted 7th. Okay, if you don't understand that, it's okay. You don't have to know it. The major blues sound is a root, a second, the blue note is the flatted third, then there's a third, a 5th, and a 6th. Okay, so they are different scale formulas, therefore 2 different scales. However, every minor key has what's called a relative major key. Okay, so A minor has a relative major key, and it's C major. It turns out that for any minor key. So if I decide that I'm in A, right? And that's my minor key. The major key is 3 frets or a step and a half above it. And that works for any note. From G minor, the relative major is B flat. From E minor, the relative major is G. From C minor, the relative major is E flat. Okay? It does not matter. It's always going to work that way. So, what that means is that you can also go in reverse. Okay? So, for example, if I'm in A major, then I can go down 3 frets and get the relative minor, which is F sharp minor. If I'm in C major, I can go down 3 frets and get A minor. If I'm in E major, I can go down 3 frets and get C sharp minor. And that will also always work. I have a little trick, by the way, to remember that. Major is commonly abbreviated with a capital M. Minor is commonly abbreviated with a lowercase m. If you want to go from a major key to a minor key, you are going from a big M to a little n, so that's down. So you go down 3 frets. If you're going from a minor to a major, that's from a little m to a big M, that's up 3 frets. That's my little trick, okay? Now, like I said, the most common trick is to simply take your box 1 and move it down 3 frets, and now it's the major key. And that works, and I'll show you, okay? So here's A minor, pentatonic, and I move it down 3 frets, and it's F sharp minor pentatonic. But because of the rule of relative keys, it's also A major pentatonic. Here's what you need to notice, though, that's important. If I play that box and I start and end on F sharp, okay, which is how we are inclined to play it. Okay, when we learn that scale, right, we learn the roots as being F sharp, these minor roots. Okay, well, if I were to play that over an A7 chord, and you might think, oh, it's going to sound good. No, it's not actually, because if I keep focusing on F sharp as my root, it doesn't actually sound quite right, because my licks and all of my ideas are based around that F sharp. And this is why I don't like this trick. I used to use this trick when I was first learning. This was the trick that was told to me, and I didn't get it. I kept wondering why every time I would use it, it didn't sound right. And finally, I figured it out. It's because I'm consistently landing on F sharp, which doesn't go with an A7 chord in any way, shape, or form. It's the 6th of the chord. So it's a little bit of an oddball choice, okay? So what I'm going to do, I actually have an A7 chord programmed into my looper. I'm going to play an A7 chord. You're going to hear the A7 chord going. I'm going to play the F sharp minor box 1 over it, and you'll hear it doesn't really sound quite right. And remember, I'm also playing A major, but it's going to sound like F sharp minor because that's the way we are used to and more comfortable playing it. Check it out. So you hear, you sort of get glimpses. There's times through that where you're like, oh yeah, I can hear where it fits in. And then there's other times where you go, no, maybe not. Maybe I was wrong. And it's this sort of push and pull, and that's what I don't like about it. Now, on the other hand, if you were to do the following, okay? So if we're in A, right, and we go down 3 frets, and we have box 1, and box 2 starts here. Now, your ear may already be telling you, oh, that sounds much better. Okay, so why don't you play box 2? Because notice that it starts and ends on A, on the relative major, on not only the relative major, but on our tonal center. If we're playing blues in A A is our tonal center. It's our key. It's where we want to focus. So if you're playing box 2, which starts and ends on that relative major note, it's going to fit in a whole lot better because those are the notes you're more comfortable looking for. All right, you've probably learned it starting here on A and ending on A. Okay, and if I do my same trick where I play the A7 chord behind it and play this box, you'll probably hear that it fits in a whole lot better. Check it out. All right, so hopefully you can hear that makes a whole lot more sense. Okay, now granted, from that box 2 home base, I can go to box 1, I can go to box 3, I can go to box 4, I can go to box 5. And of course, you can play box 1, you just have to be cognizant of the A's. Now, what you could do, of course, is sort of, I don't want to say relearn your box 1, but play your box 1 focusing mentally. This is all mental after all. Mentally focusing on the A's and sort of, showing yourself that is the A major blues sound, not the F sharp minor blues sound. Yes, of course you can do that. And yes, you should do it at some point. However, what we're in this for is to play and to play now and to get there. If you're spending all of your time going through these mental gymnastics and jumping through these hoops, trying to remember, okay, no wait, I'm really in A major, I'm not in F sharp minor, even though I'm playing down here in this spot that for the last year has been F sharp minor to me. That's mental gymnastics that most of my students, when they get on the bandstand for the first time, if that's the way they're thinking, it's gone. You just don't have that much mental faculty left because you're nervous and it's all kinds of stuff going on. You can't think. You just don't have any brain power. So you have to be able to see the guitar based around the root note that you want, okay, or the tonal center that you want. So I hope that makes sense. I did a blog post, I'll say a little bit of a rant, about this, and a lot of people asked for a video demonstrating what I'm talking about. So I hope that this explains it and makes it a little bit clearer how I choose and how I always advise my students to choose to approach getting to the major sound from the minor sound. And you'll often hear me say box 1 is minor, box 2 is major. And what I mean by that is starting from any given root note. If you start box 1 on that note, you're going to get a minor sound. If you start box 2 on that note, you're going to get a major sound. The other 5 boxes will all fill in accordingly. They all sit where they always do. So if you're playing a major sound and you're playing box 2, box 1's going to be to your left. If you're left-handed, it'll be to your right. I apologize. If you're playing box 2 to get a major sound and you go 1 box to the right, it'll be box 3. If you're playing a minor sound, meaning box 1 starting on A, well, box 2 will be the next one up. And yes, it'll be C major, but if you're playing that over an A chord, it's still going to sound like A. It's still going to sound like A minor. So a lot of times, the chord that's going on or the key of the blues that's going on will greatly impact whether your box sounds major or minor. Okay, so even though you might be thinking, wow, I'm playing C major blues, but I'm playing it over an A7 chord, why doesn't it sound like C major blues? Well, because it's an A7 chord. So that kind of stuff will also come into play. So I hope this makes sense. Hope you dug it. Hope you got something out of it. Hope it, sheds some light on some things. And I'll talk to you soon.